sometime, and I can just bring my portable basket. You know what I mean?
I don't mind doing field work at Pinnock on the holes.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like because we could drive. You can on that
We're
hole
live, by the way.
7.
Just saying.
Yeah, we can drive from the basket from hole 7, and put the portable basket, on the other side of that field. I almost like the field work from hole 2. Because it's an easy place to drive from.
Yeah. I was going, like right before you got there, I was throwing from one tee box to the second hole.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool too when nobody's out there. It's just like picking different baskets to.
I've done field work at the church too. I've gone into the field. I've just driven my car back there, and because there's a good just open section of field thrown to the backstop. But yeah, felt good. Just wanted to get out and go throw. I need to just do it more.
Yeah. I'm not, I guess I'm going to have to replace my nuke. I'm not getting it back.
I think there was a chance to get it back, and that after that rain, that thing is in the Gulf.
I want to know where that water comes from. I mean, that water like jumped up really high, really fast.
Yeah, it really did. I wonder if it's the overflow from everywhere.
I don't know. Because when we were out there with Sam just the other day, that was 10 or 12 feet down from the road down to the top of the water, and it was just right under the bridge. It was I mean, it's not very wide, so it doesn't take long for it to like raise up, but that was a lot.
I mean, that's a lot of water, though. Still,
that's a lot of water. Yeah,
it's
a lot of water.
A lot of water.
And it was rushing too. That was kind of the crazy part, also.
Yeah.
That it was had some motion there. Wild. So you were out there for what, a couple hours yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Throwing and going. I got my tee box yesterday.
For all your fancy teas.
Yep. Yep. It's raining this week too. Hope it doesn't rain out our fish fest.
I know. I'm another not busy. Just got good church stuff to do.
Had to put the top on the Jeep because it's supposed to be raining like every day.
Every day this week.
70-80%. Since I don't have a place to put it inside right now.
I was gonna try to mow my backyard after the podcast.
Well, better get it done now because you're not getting it done till Sunday if you don't do it now.
Yeah, because it was pretty dry yesterday. I went and filled up my gas can or whatever, and went to go put it in the mower, and it like took all of it and didn't even fill it up. I was like, I was real low on gas. That's not good. That's not good.
You were on the verge of being in the middle of your yard.
Well, I was like, why is it like not wanting to start? Why is it putt-putting on me? And then I looked in there and I was like, oh, ain't got no gas in it.
I know what's wrong with
it.
Ain't got no gas in it.
Mm-hmm. It was like so low.
Oh, that's funny.
Man. I am sore.
Yeah,
like my
traps. Traps
my
and obliques.
yeah, traps and my back. My back is really sore. I throw a lot from my back. It's probably bad. Maybe. I don't know. But that's also why it feels so good. Because that's where I carry all my stress is that upper back.
That's probably
So then,
really bad. But also
yeah, so
why
like when I'm
it
like ripping there,
feels
it's
so
like,
good.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Behind the Beards. And here on Behind the Beards, we pull the curtain back, take a look behind the scenes, and try to reveal the things that go on in the hearts and minds of your ministers and ministry leaders. I'm Josh. That's Aaron.
it's me.
In case you're new to the podcast here, we are now currently, even though we're in different rooms,
Yeah.
we're in the same
different cities.
church.
We're in different cities.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I'm in Longview.
With 2 in between
Aaron's
me.
in Gladewater.
That's right.
Yeah. We're at the Pine Tree Church of Christ in Longview, Texas. And it still feels surreal to look across the hallway and see Aaron's office over there. But
yeah,
it is good to be with you. We're glad you've chosen to be with us here today, whether you're listening on the podcast apps or if you are on YouTube or on Facebook, however it is that you found us, we're glad you're here. We hope you'll take a minute to rate us, review us, share us. We'll take all the regular stuff we can get.
Good and negative. We'll take all
good and
of
bad.
it.
That's
we'll
right.
Take any of it.
We take constructive criticism. If you have an idea about some things we can do better, we are up for it. Could you hear that? My phone was ringing. Oh, man.
Yeah, very unprofessional.
It was really loud. Well, everything's connected. I've got my iPad and my Mac over here, and my phone rings, and everything like starts going nuts. Kind of crazy.
Took me a while to get used to that.
Yeah. Well, man, what's going on with your kids like this week? Your youth kids at the church.
Oh, you know what's interesting is I still have to get used to like living in Texas, and like there's just a difference about it. I've never, like in Kansas, like kids didn't have Good Friday off of school, so it was like never a thing. In here, around here, in these parts, they have Good Friday off. So Thursday night, we're doing a game night at the Simpsons house. So we're excited about that, and that'll be a lot of fun. Just like a get together, come bring your favorite board game or whatever, and play around. So we're doing that with our high school only. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're pushing back. We usually do youth group second or fourth Sundays, but the second Sunday of this month is Easter. The second Sunday of next month is Mother's Day. So I'm going to mess everybody up, and we're going to push those back. So that'll be a lot of fun. Really mess with people's brains there.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's I have to get used to being in Texas. Also, we went to Academy yesterday, as we were checking out. I'm like, babe, they got Rangers, Cowboys, Aggies, and Longhorn stuff at the checkouts.
Yeah.
I am officially home.
There it is. You can get like, all of his stuff.
All my stuff. And she's like, well, just get it. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. It's like, I don't need to get it. It just is. I'm like looking. I'm like, it's just surreal still that.
Yeah, I don't have to get it because it'll be here.
Because it'll be there. That's right.
It'll be there. I don't have to be like, oh, it's not like when you're traveling. You're like, oh, Trailblazer stuff. Like I never can find this.
I never. That's right.
It's true.
We have in our family connections ministry, man, we got our. If it doesn't rain, man, it's supposed to rain. Hopefully the rain will hold off till the evening here on Saturday, but got a big family activity this weekend, the family fish fest. That's gonna be fun. Mm-hmm. Some folks got a pond. We're gonna get out there and do some fishing, do some picnicking. Hey, bring your discs and your basket. There's plenty of room out there. We can probably maybe teach some people a thing or two about the sport of disc golf. See, that's the thing. You always say you don't like sports. You do like sports.
I have never said that I do not like sports.
Every time I say something about
everyone
basketball,
assumes
you say
it's like the cornbread thing. It's like people are like, "Oh, well, that's not very good. That's not a good analogy or comparison." I like sports. I like sports.
Okay, well, you say that, but every time
sporty.
I say anything about basketball or football or baseball, you go, "Oh, sports," and then
somebody has to.
Somebody has to.
Right? Like you have to have diversity.
So you say that, but the only reason people say that is because you continue to perpetuate the impression.
That's right. Gotta keep up appearances, Josh. Gotta keep up appearances.
Different kinds of sports.
I like paddle sports a lot. Like I like watching ping pong. I like pickleball. I like tennis. I played a little racquetball. Learned how to play that. That was a lot of fun. I think those are the kind of sports that I really like. I like football. Football's cool. I don't like live baseball is fun. I enjoy watching live baseball. Man, I just cannot watch baseball on TV. I'd rather watch golf. I find golf more interesting than baseball on TV. Baseball's
the Masters is this weekend, Aaron. The Masters is
it's Easter.
My dream, one of my dreams is to get to the Masters. I put in for tickets for the Masters every year. I've never been drawn. But to go watch it. Yeah, oh yes. I'll take anyone. A practice round, par 3. I don't care. I just want to get on the Masters in the week of the Masters.
That'd be cool.
And I've never been drawn. One of these days.
One of them.
I'll be standing.
I want to go to the World Championships of disc golf. Was in Texas this last year.
It was.
And I think Austin, I think it'd be really cool to go to one of these big tournaments like that to watch these guys. I would love to see somebody drive 400 and something feet.
Yeah, it's cool to watch on video, but to
see it in person, especially because your eye is the best camera in the world. So you could track that disc after they threw it. Oh, let's go, Josh. Let's do one. Let's find one.
And it's true. I remember, because I watch golf a lot, and
I watched a lot with my dad. Yeah,
10 or 15 years ago. Oh man, we were in Oklahoma, so it's been a long time. For Father's Day, Heather bought me tickets to the U.S. Open.
Oh wow!
When it was in Tulsa.
No way.
And so we went up, and I remember we were on at one of the holes. It was a par 5, and we just sat there and we just watched every guy drive.
Yeah,
par 5, and we're sitting right on the edge of the dog leg. Tiger was young. I mean, this is 15 years ago, so he was in his prime. And all these guys are driving. They're all landing kind of right in front of us. And it's probably 320 yards out. I'm landing right there in the middle of that bend in the fairway. And then as we were watching them one after the other, Tiger gets up and hits. And it was like, and you just watch it sail over your head and land 30 yards further down the fairway. And it was like, oh my goodness, that is so far. So yeah, to be in person to see somebody just rip a drive.
He still hits pretty far, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
He's still
he's had to completely change his swing, and I mean he just destroyed his back because of the violence of his swing when he was young. But
that's what I'm afraid I'm doing with disc golf.
Destroying your back.
Yeah.
Oh. And it's fun. I'm in. Let's go. Let's find a place.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we missed it in Austin because that course there with the 360 bridge in the background is really really scenic. So, but
I'm sure it'll come back. Close. I feel like there's not a whole lot of places. They had it in Emporia. I can't believe they had the world champion in Emporia, Kansas. Yeah. And then I started looking at it. It's like the disc golf capital of America.
And they got the space for it. I mean, that's.
I was like, man, I lived in Kansas. And I didn't even take advantage. I played in Emporia a couple times, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
But life changes when you have someone to play with. That's for sure.
It really does. It really does. We're going to be looking at last week. We talked about why is discipleship so tough. This week, I think we're going to look at some practical tips and not just for discipleship, but for deep discipleship.
Yeah,
I think we've done a pretty good job in the church of recognizing the importance of discipleship and bringing people along. The difficult aspect of it is creating a discipleship that lasts, that will endure, and that really is deeply rooted. One of the things I like about your youth ministry, the Pine Tree Roots, is, your mission there is to create deep roots where these guys are not just firmly rooted in the church, but rooted in the message of God. And so how do we create these avenues for our people, our wives, maybe it's your husbands, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your kids that you're responsible for at church, our children's ministry, our marriage ministry, our youth ministry, all these things to really deepen their discipleship. And it's it's not easy, because the easy way just kind of lets me just do things and doesn't create a path for other people to really learn along the way. So first thing I had here was just
there's things that like
enabling shallow discipleship. Stop enabling it. So go ahead. How do we start kind of down that path?
Well, I was thinking like practical things. Like I think there's wasted time that you can have during church. I think there's wasted time that you have during youth group and stuff like that. And this is not totally on our notes, but it's an Aaron specialty. But I think like shallow discipleship, sometimes that can come from like this that there's not accountability to our discipleship. There's not accountability to our faith life. There's not accountability to like if we're actually doing things. And so I'll pull out one of these back burner ideas for you that I have for the PT Roots in the future. Is kids get there early. And the teens enjoy having conversations, and we've set up, we call it the hub, is our youth room. We set our youth room up to where there is space. There's space. There's a coffee bar with some drinks over there, and the kids use that space. Some of them hang out there. Some of them act like baristas in a sense, and they'll sit there and they'll make people drinks and stuff. There's space over on the ping pong tables. There's space at the foosball tables. There's space at our black tables where people kind of sit and they'll kind of chill and talk or whatever. And those are the spaces that I created. A back burner idea for me is to, instead of them coming in and just talking about school or just talking about what's going on or just laughing and all that kind of stuff, which is great conversation. I always am so excited. And anybody who walks into our youth room goes, whoa, like the energy in here is like really cool. It's exciting and it makes you want like a longer class time. But is maybe I've thought about having like a set, some spiritual questions on a little piece of paper. And as they walk in, they get it. And this is pre-class. It has nothing to do with class. But it just kind of helps them to direct them towards like more spiritual focused conversations.
Yeah.
And that kind of an idea. And I thought of like, hey, wouldn't that be cool if that's what like your Sunday morning before church was like too? Like how crazy would it be? Like, hey, you got a bulletin, and hey, here's some questions to kind of ask random people as you walk in. Like, you don't want to take away from people's like, oh, how's life going? How the kids, yada yada yada. But also like, hey, man, how did you see Jesus this week?
Right.
Boy, how many feathers would be ruffled? If you like somebody walked up, the guy who always walks up to you and says, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, that's good. That's great. Oh yeah, man. If you're like, hey man, how did you see Jesus this week?
Yeah. Bringing everything into focus, right?
Yeah. Tell me a specific time this week, between now and or between last Sunday and this Sunday, that you put into, like what if those were our derived conversations from that? Would that cause us to have, a deeper discipleship, a deeper focus? Would it hyperactivate ourselves? I don't know. These are like this is all like theory crafting in my head.
No, and the idea of wasted time.
I don't think wasted is an appropriate or is the like correct word for
not
that.
always, but sometimes.
But
like
sometimes.
I think about we're sitting around the house and there's a lull in whatever. Like my first instinct is like to grab my phone and open Reels or open TikTok. So it's like what? They're 30-second, 1-minute videos. Sometimes you get a long one. If it's got a scrubber, I'm probably scrubbing. Right. Because I want to get to like I'm not here for all the mess in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
But how many 30 to 60-second videos can you watch before you have wasted 15 minutes? I mean, and it goes like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, dude, I've been like in this wormhole for so long. And so like sometimes it's wasted time. Sometimes it's just time that could be used more intentionally. And there's a balance too, right? Because we need moments where we just kind of let things go, that everything doesn't have to be so structured. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're not losing those opportunities. Like before class, before worship, I think about dinner times. Even if you're going out to eat.
I was going to say, I think I might add this to my Sunday night devotional. Like, hey, pick up your food, go sit at a table, eat, and talk about these things.
And even if you're going out to eat at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we have rules at home, and there's a lot of people that have rules at home, like no phones at the table at home.
Right.
So when you come in, we sit at the table. Nobody has their phones. They're, there, and we're not scrolling because we're at the table. We're at home. And sometimes it's easy to go out and forget that, hey, we're still at the table and we still have this opportunity to really look at one another in the face and connect. But it's just easy sometimes, especially with kids, teenagers, and little kids, to just say, hey, man, just here, take this and be quiet. The big people are talking. But that's an opportunity to bring kids up, to bring them in, to be a part of the family as a whole, to be a part of the friends as a whole. When we go out to eat and Sam's kind of crawling around, sometimes it's the easy thing would be say, here, dude, go watch something and be quiet.
Right. Yeah.
But that doesn't teach him how to interact, how to engage. And it also doesn't teach him that his presence at the table is valued.
Right.
And we want everyone there to know that not only are you wanted here, you're welcome here, and you bring something to the table.
Well, it's also like when you become a parent, and like sometimes it gets kind of like there was kind of an eye opening for Lauren and I, because for a little bit, like he did like use our phones or tablet or something like that, and he would just like really suck in, and like you'd be like, Sam. He'd be like, what? I'd be like, whoa, like I don't like that. I don't like that you are so like sucked into that. So Sam is annoyingly smart. So we have a rule in the car now that if it's under an hour, like he doesn't get like a tablet or something in the car or anything like that. No screen time.
Explore the surroundings.
Under an hour, hey, you can look outside. So he will never ask for your phone in the car. But you know what he will ask?
How long are we going to be in the car?
Is this a long drive or a short drive? He won't ask you for your phone. He'll ask you if it's a long drive or
he's setting you up.
He always is like, he's a chess player, man. He's always like 2 questions ahead, kind of a thing. So he's funny like that.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that we have to look at is, this is all.
So where does table... so I was gonna say, so we kind of got off a little bit, and anchoring back to like shallow discipleship here.
No, and I think that's where it is though, is getting into this place where we don't waste those opportunities.
We don't teach people the habits to waste opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe even more
we
so.
come in, and when we have time, we're going to use it intentionally.
Yeah.
Like some of our time's going to be spent here, but we have these moments, and we have to capitalize on those moments to deepen connections, to deepen relationships. And those habits and those practices then move into our spiritual life as well. That,
yeah, like if you go through my youth program, you will have heard me say this 1,000 times. Hey, we're not here just to read our Bibles. We're here to study our Bibles. And there's a difference between just reading our Bibles and studying a Bible. And you can totally tell the difference. Like you can totally tell if you have just read something to learn it for a test, or whether or not you have learned how to like actually do it and master it. I use sports as a lot of like you practice so that you can master your sport. I talked to those who play video games. I was like, if you watch speed runs, like those people play that game and they know every in and out because they are mastering, being able to do that fast. It's more than just reading it. And so I think, to not enable shallow discipleship, like we have to ourselves, but then new Christians or other people just around us, is we have to not enable them to be lazy or to be shallow, in their discipleship. That there is like we do have to we do have to do something.
Yeah. But the easy thing as a teacher, as a leader, is to just do it for you. The easy thing as a parent is just, hey, you know what? Your shoes need to be tied. Here, come here. Let me tie your shoes.
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, you're old enough now. I'm going to teach you how to tie your shoes.
Yeah.
So that the next time you don't have to come running all the way across to find me or somebody. You just tie your shoes.
Absolutely.
And it's a pain. It's a hassle. You have to go back to basics. And it's like, guys, this would be so much more efficient if I could just give this information to you. But that doesn't teach them how to endure on their own once they get into this place. So not only are we going to study the Bible together, I'm going to teach you how to study the Bible.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not just going to read it. I'm going to pour something into you, but I'm going to show you how we got here. And I'm going to give you the tools to go do this on your own. And I think the hard part about that is when we put people on their own, there's consequences if we don't do it correctly.
Yeah. I think about fishing. I think about I don't know why I remember this, but I remember when I got my first fishing reel, like my dad took all the line off of it. And I remember us going through, and he taught me everything about that fishing reel, so that when I was out there on the boat, I didn't have to be like, hey, how do I cast? Like, how do I do this? What I do is like, oh no, this is my fishing reel. I know where every screw is. I know where, I know how to put the line. If I get a rat's nest, I think at some part, like he just didn't want to have to untangle my line.
Yeah, I think so.
And all that kind of stuff, and he just wanted to have more quality time fishing himself. But it was like, okay, I know how to do this. I could pull it out. I could cut the line. I could rehook. I could re-put a hook on it. Re-put my weights on it if I wanted to. Or I could learn how to untangle it, or whatever it was going to be. But it's like I knew the ins and outs of that fishing pole, and I knew how to set it up before we went out there. We always made sure our lines and everything were set before we got in the boat, so that by the time we got in the boat and we were out on the water, our lines are in the water, kind of an idea. And so I think that there's so much importance. I can teach kids about the Bible. I can teach teenagers about the Bible all I want. But unless I teach them the tools to correctly look up information in their Bibles, the only thing they're ever going to learn to do is just to Google for the answer, and that's not always like the best method.
In today's day and age, you can't trust anything you're reading there because anybody can put anything anywhere.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to find.
It's illegal to lie on the internet, so.
Yeah, it's illegal. Yeah. So teaching them and giving those tools and those resources to really deepen their own understanding. Because what I find kind of on my own path, that's what really I'm able to take hold of, especially when what I find on that path lines up with what I've been taught by the people that love and that I love and I trust. And when I find something out that may be a little different, and then we can come back and have those conversations about the different aspects and the different ways that can be seen and used and put into practice, it opens those avenues for really impactful conversations. And we've talked about how to have those tough conversations here in the past. So, and the other thing I think is just giving people the room and empowering them to go and do work. And, I think as a minister, it's easier for me to do the work than it is for me to empower others to step into that role. And I think about your Sherpas and a lot of your chaperones. I think back at my time at Goodwood, early on, I was doing the campus ministry. I was doing the youth ministry. I was doing all these things. And as we kind of moved on, we had someone else take over the campus ministry. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really as involved in that as I used to be. And at first I was a little kind of put off by that. And I was like, man, I miss it. I want to be a part of it. And then I reminded, or I think maybe you probably reminded me, it's like, hey, isn't this what you kind of wanted them to do?
Yeah.
Like, this is a healthy thing that others are coming in and taking ownership of these different aspects of kingdom service, and empowering others to step into those roles is so important to have that shouldering of the load, if you will, of the work of the kingdom. So it also gives them room to grow. So we got to stop enabling shallow discipleship and give people the room to really put roots down and put them down deep. Any other thoughts on that before we get over to?
No, I think we covered it.
This so we've been reading the book here in our staff, Emotionally Healthy Discipleship, and in this first chapter, it's Peter Scazzaro. They when he talked about changing our focus from, we have put too much emphasis on doing for God as opposed to being with God. And as I started kind of reading through that part of that chapter, I was like, oh man, this hurts. Because I put so much of my identity in how busy I am for the church. Hey, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Yeah, man, I am a kingdom dude. It's like, yeah, but how well do you know God? It's like, well, we'll get there, but first I got to do these things. I think maybe one of the questions that Heather and I were talking last night and kind of went through my head was, how, if someone says, do you love God? Like, what's your answer? Do you love God?
Yes.
Yes. How do you know you love God? How does the world know you love God?
I hope by my actions and my words, the morals in which I live my life, and how I carry myself.
Yeah, and
I hope that's the right answer. I hope that's what you're looking for.
I'm not really looking for anything. It just is, I think, by my actions and by my words. And for me, like, well, he's always at the church. I mean, they know that on Sunday, he doesn't officiate on Sunday because he goes to church on Sunday. He works on Wednesday nights. He's a pastor. I know that if I need anything, I can call him. He's the guy that can lead the prayer during our meetings. He runs that campus ministry. He's got that tailgate going on. Ooh, they do that fall fest. Look at all the things that we're doing. And that becomes, how much are you at the church? How much are you involved in church activities? How connected are you to all the things that go on in the church? Becomes kind of a litmus test for how much do you really love God.
Yeah, and I think it's not, oh man, it's so hard because there's a balance, and there's a part of me that fights that a little bit, because it's like, it's not like how much do you punch your clock. That's right. Not what it's about. And I think this is so I think the pendulum swings like this. So I think there was a time period where it was all about being at the like physical location of the church, being there, right? And then you have a movement where the pendulum swings the other way, and it's like, well, it's not about punching your clock and being there. It's about living out the message of the church and doing that,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Right.
like, well, I don't need to be at church physically. I just need to live out the church. So then we swing to the extreme this way. And then it swings back and it's like, well, if you're not at the church, how do people know if you're associated and all that kind of stuff? And so I feel like, so I hope our audience understands and they understand that it's like this pendulum that swings back and forth, and you have to find this balance because it's not about just coming and punching your clock. Okay. You could come and fill a pew every day for the rest of your life and be so far away from Jesus that on Judgment Day, he might say, I don't even know who you are.
Mm.
And you're like, well, I went to church every single day, every time the door was open. He said, yeah, you were there physically, but were you there, with your heart? Were you there, or were you there out of guilt or were you there out of joy and reverence, kind of this idea. And so, like, for me, like, that's the thing that I'm always thinking about. It's like, and that's what, like, I feel like when you get to deeper discipleship, it's exactly what Paul kind of talks about. It's like faith without works is dead, but you have to have works in order to show that you have faith, So
Right.
it's not about just, you can't work your way into heaven. You can't show up to church enough to get into heaven. That's not
But
how you
because
get
of
there.
your faith, your work's
But
going to be
because of
there.
your faith. And so how do you get that faith in order to derive that? Well, you have to move past like a shallow discipleship. And again, I think about things like if you're really passionate about it, you practice and you work hard about it. If you're really interested in it, there are some people out there who can quote you every single fact about every single football player that has ever played or every quarterback that has ever played. Oh, well, back in 94, he threw, 428 million miles with a 25, inch fastball, I know none of that made sense. I knew that was gibberish. Don't worry. That was the point. But, you got people who can spit those facts and yet they've been going to church their entire life. And you're like, oh, well, Nicodemus. And they're like, who's Nicodemus? What are you talking about? Like, what is that? And it's like, so at some point, like, where do our passions point us towards, Jesus was the point is. So again, I think like when we talk about this, like you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep that pendulum in mind. It's like, are you showing up to these activities and events, with the mindset of, well, I'm going to punch my clock, or is it I'm going, to deeper my roots into Jesus. I'm doing this to build those relationships, to make those connections.
I'm going because I love people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that is, I mean, to me, when he was talking about, I think about Jesus said, is asked, what's the greatest commandment? He says, love God and love your neighbor. And so how do people know that you love God? People know that you love God because of how much you love people. And because of your love for people, then you are now motivated and you are inspired to be a part of the people of God. Because it's through the people of God that we are making the lives of the people that we love better. And so it's not that the things that we do aren't important.
Right.
It's that is not where we have our value, and that is not where our discipleship comes from. That it comes from understanding the motive behind it, changing our focus from being with God and understanding how much he loves the people of this world, so much so that he gave his own life for them. And if God loves them that much, I should love them that much. And because I love them that much, I'm going to be a part of this group of people that is going out there to transform the world. And everything that we do is going to be intentionally focused. We're not going to have that wasted time. And we can fill our calendars with stuff, or we can do a few less things and make sure those few things that we do are really, really good.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue for us as leaders is creating a culture for our own people, for our own kids, for our own families, to take that moment of silence before the busyness that says, okay, life is going to be busy. That's not really something that we can necessarily change. But we're not going to focus on the busyness. We're going to focus on our presence with God so that our busyness can be purposeful and intentional.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not going to find my value in being busy. I'm going to find my value in God, so that in my busyness, I can go and do things that are really impactful.
That's awesome. And that's what I was thinking. Like that's that balance. That's that pendulum swing that you have to, you kind of have to have.
And I'm just going to say one thing. I'm really grateful. I shared this in our staff meeting yesterday. I've been struggling with kind of coming back to this place where, like, where do I find purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Because our leadership here has really said, hey, you need to take some time. And like, there's a lot of that I really feel unproductive. But I feel unproductive because and this doesn't come from a previous leadership. This comes from me and my own heart and my own mind, that I have placed purpose and value, value really on how busy am I for the church. And it wasn't healthy for my mind. It wasn't healthy for my emotions, and it really wasn't healthy for me spiritually. And so to have a leadership that comes in and recognizes that and says, hey, man, hey, just take a beat. Hey, take a minute, settle in, settle down. I don't need you to hit the ground running. I just need you to land and land softly and get in a place where you can be solid for us. Has really opened up some avenues for me to explore some things in my own heart, my own mind that I've probably needed to explore for a while. And that's really important, is to have those people in our lives. Maybe it's elders, maybe it's shepherds, maybe it's friends. Maybe you're in that position for some people to encourage others to say, hey, take a minute and just be with God for a while, so that when you come back into this relationship, you're bringing some serious value when you come back in, because you've already spent your time with God. I think it's one of the most powerful things that we can do for our discipleship.
I think so too. Man, we're so thankful for y'all being here today, and we appreciate you. And we hope this is helpful to you. I hope this is like an eye opener for you if you're sitting in the pew. I also hope this is an eye opener if you are standing behind the pulpit, or something like that.
Right.
But because it's an eye opener for me. Like, we're reading this book as a church staff, and it is dagger to the heart, which is really like helpful and good, and I love that kind of stuff. But we want to thank you all for being here today. We also want to remind you of Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Do not grow weary in doing good. This world is messy. This life is messy. So allow Christ to use you to do something different, something good in Jesus' name. Don't do it for yourself. Don't do it for any other reason than the fact that Jesus is Lord, and he is good. And he's a good, good Father. I've been listening to that song on my drive into work, and man, I want to make you cry. So it's good. But I'm Aaron, and this is Josh, and we'll see you next week on Behind the Beards.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
It was good. Up from the desk he rose.
Oh, don't lean on it.